Conspiracy theories, eh? Wait till you get a load of this.
Hello, and welcome to Cracked Sisters Conspiracies. We're a podcast that covers conspiracy theories, mysteries, and all of our spooky shit. My name's Jackie.
And I'm Cassandra.
And we are said sisters.
Hello.
Oh.
Is your drink to your liking now?
Mo better. It was
Your cup is so cute.
Thank you. It's a 2-pack.
I love it.
Me too. It's
I'm drinking today also. I have
What are
real alcohol.
Yay.
Rum and zero sugar juice and some sugar-free Sprite.
That's good.
I needed a break from bourbon and vodka. So
I do have rum and I almost never drink it. Maybe I should do that.
I had some rum and cokes last weekend and I'm like, ooh, okay.
I was on a rum kick.
Yeah.
Today is one of my no go to the gym days. So I really decided to lean into it. And we got Taco Bell for dinner.
Oh.
I'm hurting a little bit.
Yeah, I was good. I made salmon cakes with stuffed mushrooms and green beans for dinner to justify drinking tonight. So
I didn't have lunch, so it's fine.
that's not good. What are you, Dad?
No, you know what? You want to know what I did today? Guess
What
I
did you do today?
I went somewhere and I spoke to someone.
You went somewhere and you spoke to someone. Did you go to the prison and speak to Ed Kemper?
No, I did not.
Did you go to the grocery store and speak to the checkout person?
No. Self-checkout all day.
I don't know. You don't interact with people. You don't leave your house. What did you do?
I went and I scheduled my tattoo appointment.
You did?
I did.
When is that going to be?
Not until October.
Oh my God, you're getting it done right before?
Yeah, just found her on Instagram. I looked up Vacaville tattoo artist at a female because I went for a female artist.
Yeah.
Vacaville. I don't like to say Vacaville, but it's wrong. So
it's fucking Vacaville, and I will fight Alex over that.
Okay. In V-Town. So I found her and I hit her up on Instagram because Alex was like, just go in there. I'm like, no, that's so unhinged. So I hit her up on Instagram and she's like, yeah, like come on in at any time on this day or whatever. So I met with her and I told her what I wanted. And she's like, cool, when are you looking to get it done? I go, honestly, now would be cool. I just need it done before my wedding on Halloween. She goes, I don't actually have any openings until October, but let's see what we have. So she goes, how long can you sit for? I go, man, I have no fucking idea. In my head, I think 3 hours is a good time. I go, but I know that's really short.
You can do more.
And I'm like, but I have nowhere to measure it on. I go, my back was only maybe an hour, but I was totally cool with it. And it was on my spine. So I'm like, I don't know. She goes, in a perfect world, I'd like to get you for like six hours.
Yeah.
I go, okay, that sounds terrifying. I go, but maybe. She goes, I have numbing spray. What we'll do is we can put some on, we tattoo you. If you start to get antsy, we'll put a little bit more on that will prolong you a little bit longer. And she goes, we'll take it by ear. I'm like, okay, cool. She goes, then your second one will be on October 22nd. She goes, what we'll do is we'll do the bottom first, try to get it completely done. So that way, worst case scenario, you have that part done for your wedding, but in a perfect world, we can get the whole thing done.
Wow, that's so exciting.
I know. I'm really nervous.
$1 million question. What was the quoted price?
I forgot to ask.
Oh my God, Jackie.
I was worried about it all day. That was my number one question. And when you said it, I don't talk to people that often or leave my house. So I was flustered. So I literally left and I called Alex and he went, what's the price? I went, that's a great question. I don't know. So she gave me her number, obviously. She's like, just send me inspo pics and everything. You can communicate that way. So I text her. I'm like, I forgot to ask how much this is.
I guess you have a few months to figure that out. So
yeah.
When we went to the tattoo convention, not last weekend, the weekend before, that Evan was in and had to be like a model and show off. I had met with Will, who had done pretty much most of my work that I had. And so I'm like, I want to get this filled in. Like, how much is it going to be? So to fill in the rest of the top half of my sleeve, he's like, oh, like 800. So, and I'm like, sir, I don't know if you remember, but you did this entire thing for $300. So.
Yeah. Well, she's an apprentice. So Alex is like, I assume she'll maybe charge $100 an hour. He goes, if you're there for 6 hours, $600 per session. I don't know, but
I don't know.
I'm also not
Evan
paying
got
for
his
it.
back done. That was almost $7,000. So
That's bonkers. I mean, Alex has got his arms have been like maybe 2,000 for like both of them, but I don't know.
with the exception of my arm, I don't think I have spent more than $100 on a single tattoo that I
I know I had to like shop minimums on all except my back.
And that was one of those like
someone
$50, $40.
because you just temporarily froze for a second.
Mentally, I do have low bandwidth right now. Speaking of bandwidth, fucking Spectrum, our internet, increased our price again today.
I fucking hate Spectrum. Spectrum.
Hate them so much. And so we've been waiting for the fiber that they installed to be
Fiber optics.
Whatever.
You said fiber. That's not the same at all.
You know what I mean. But anywho, I'm waiting for it to be available. And so I contacted Spectrum. I'm like, hey, look, you've increased my shit 2 times in 6 months. What the fuck? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm going to leave. And they're like, okay, cool, bye. Well, fuck you.
Yeah. I called them one. And I'm like, why is my bill 3 times what it normally is? She goes, oh, well, you've been with us for over a year. I go, cool. She goes, so that was like your introduction rate. So we made it go up. And I'm like, that's not how this works. And I go, I'm not doing this. She goes, okay. And I'm like, oh, fuck yourself. So then I quit them that day and we have Verizon.
Yeah. Spectrum, 15 years. They do not give 2 shits. Loyalty means
fucking
nothing.
hate Spectrum.
So,
I like Verizon and it's only like $25 or $24 a month.
That's way better than the $90+ a month that I'm paying for this bullshit internet. That's not working.
Yeah. And like you get the box. It's like you don't even have a router. It's just a box that kind of acts like it. And you put it in a window and there you go. You're good to go.
So some changes to be made. And also my fucking electric bill, because we've been keeping the air at 70 on a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the highest it's ever been in my entire life. So
we have solar. It's nice.
Life is a struggle right now.
I'm sorry.
So anyway, what else is going on with you?
Oh, I felt like I had something. Oh, God, knew I should have wrote this down.
I remembered 2 things.
In addition, or those were your 2 things?
No, in addition.
You can go because I don't remember anything.
So last weekend, I did 2 things. The first one is I went to visit my oldest and dearest. I went and saw Alexis.
Oh, you did?
I did. And her and her husband own, it's called Superior Barbell Club. So they have a weightlifting gym out in the valley, and they also do boxing classes on the weekend. So I went to go see her and I did a boxing class. My body still hurts.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Fantastic workout, but I was humbled so quick.
Do you remember when we did our pole dancing workout?
Yes. Oh my God. That was actually a lot of fun.
It was so much fun, but I was out of my comfort zone completely.
It was way harder than I thought it would be.
And it chafed my legs. The pole fucking hurt.
And it was going to rip your skin off. It was awful. But I had momentarily forgotten about that. But anyway, boxing was a lot of fun. Don't know that that's my forte, but whatever.
Okay.
And then that same day, I had lucked into some box seats at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah.
That was the most bougie, fun experience. It was Barbie playing at the Hollywood Bowl. And for those of you who are unaware, they usually do like movie showings, but they'll do like a live orchestra along with it. It was super fun. It was the most flamboyant, pink colored event I've ever been to. And the box seats are bougie as fuck. You have this private box where they set up tables. You bring dinner, you bring wine, beer. We brought a flask, whatever. And there was confetti cannons and fucking fireworks. It was so much fun. So if there's ever an opportunity for you to join us, I would highly recommend going.
Do you mean me or our listeners?
You specifically. I mean, because I can usually get 4 tickets, and so I need And are you coming down?
So I called the dress place because she said, call on October 1st and we should have an ETA for your dress. So I called and she goes, oh, right now it's looking like mid-August to the early September.
Okay.
I'm like, you guys keep fucking pushing this. She goes, just call us in the middle of August and hopefully we'll have a better idea. My goal is to come out sometime in August. So maybe at the end of August. I don't know.
All right. That works. Yeah, because she doesn't know it yet. And I can't speak too loudly because I'm sure she's listening with her ear to the wall. But one of the gifts that we are getting her, we booked her a private horse riding lesson. So she
Oh.
that out. But that's on like a Friday after school. So, whatever. But yeah, that would be fun. But anyway, I don't remember what your topic is
That was going to be my question.
at all. I was thinking about it during dinner. I'm like, no, nothing. Not even a whisper of a thought. What is it?
It is the death of Miss
USA.
Brittany Murphy.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's so sad.
Is that and the conspiracy around her death.
She went out in like a fucked up fashion. And I know that there was shit with like her husband and her mom and all of that surrounding it. Okay, yeah, let's get into that. It makes me sad thinking about it because I loved her. She was so great as Ty in Clueless.
Stop. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to tell me at some point all of the movies that you remember her being in.
Okay.
So shut up. Okay. So Brittany Ann Murphy was born on November 10th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia. Her parents divorced when she was only 3, and she ended up living full-time with her mom, Sharon Murphy, in New Jersey when her dad, Angelo Bertololi. Bertoli. I'm like, I feel like I'm adding an extra syllable. Like a sauce. Anyway, she lived full time with her mom because her dad got arrested for drug possession and being affiliated with the Italian mob, and he spent 12 years in prison.
Whoops. Forget about it.
So Brittany and her mom lived on tough times, and she explained how they didn't really have any money, and she used to have to beg her mom to take her to Kmart to get new clothes, and she was forced to eat spaghetti every night for dinner, which I would have personally loved as a child.
My kid fucking loves spaghetti and pasta. And also, side quest, I was thinking about Kmart the other day because I had mentioned it.
That was Alex's first job.
Are you serious?
What a loser.
That is hilarious. I had mentioned Kmart offhand because I couldn't remember the name for Kohl's. And I'm like, we're going to go to Kmart today. And Grayson's like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Oh, good old
plate special.
Okay, so Brittany had always shown an interest in performing. When she was 4, she attended the Vern Fowler School of Dance and Theater Arts, and she studied singing, dancing, and acting.
Triple threat.
Yeah. Throughout her childhood, she was in many plays and theater productions, and she really just enjoyed the act of entertaining people. In 1991, before she was set to start high school, she asked her mom if they could move to California so she could pursue her acting career. And mom said sure and moved them to LA.
Oh, fuck.
Very supportive of her daughter.
I mean, in that I support, but it doesn't make any sense logistically.
I mean, I guess if you really don't have anything tying you down, and they were poor, so maybe she didn't have the best job.
Maybe, but then I'm thinking about like the Jeanette McCurdy path. Okay, the mom's like, yeah, she's my meal ticket. Let's do this. Make a bunch of money. And
it doesn't end up going that way, so that's okay. Once in California, she landed her first role that same year on the television show Murphy Brown, even though she was only in 1 episode. From there, she got other acting roles, such as in Drexel's Class, Almost Home, Party of 5, Boy Meets World, and Sister Sister, even though I do not remember her in Boy Meets World or Sister Sister.
I don't remember that either, and I was like an avid watcher of both of those.
I even rewatched Boy Meets World a couple years ago, and I still don't remember her in it.
Corey's a piece of shit, by the way. Topanga deserved better.
Why? Because he cheated once?
No, because he was just a wiener and I didn't like him. And Sean would have been the one.
Because he was so cute and a bad boy.
Absolutely. You know what? This is a conversation for another day. I have thoughts.
Who knew you were so...
I have a lot of thoughts about Boy Meets World and the Corey relationship.
Okay. We'll circle back to that at some point.
We should, yeah.
Okay, so what movie do you think gave Brittany Murphy her big break?
So when I think of Brittany Murphy, the 2 movies that come to mind initially are Clueless and then Just Married, because those are the 2 that had the most impact on my life.
Okay.
I know she's been in a lot. Like, I can think of a couple more. She was in 8 Mile with fucking Eminem. She was in, not The Nanny, but it was something where she was a nanny for someone. Uptown Girls. And then I'm trying to think of what else. That's all I can think of at the moment.
So 3 movies. Oh, no, 4. Sorry. So back to my original question that you didn't answer. What do you think was her breakthrough movie?
Clueless.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So she was in 1995's Clueless, where she played the new kid and Cher's friend named Ty.
I related with her so much as a person.
I really liked her in that movie, but that's just an overall great movie, and I love all the characters. Even though I fucking hated her at the end, that's actually a lie. I didn't like her because she was like, "You're just a virgin who can't thrive," and that was so rude.
She had her redemption arc, and then she ended up getting together with Travis the skateboarder, and
I know, and then on the thing, and then she hits her head.
Oh my god. But yeah, like she was going after fucking Cher quasi boyfriend that was a total piece of shit, and then her stepbrother,
and then her brother, who she was in love with.
I know.
It's a great movie. So Brittany Murphy had just turned 17 when she landed that role.
Oh, okay.
And she was actually the youngest cast member in the entire movie. She did her first Broadway play in 1997 for A View from the Bridge, and then continued to star in many more movies. You already told me which ones you remember her in, some other ones that you missed. She was in Freeway with Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland.
She was in Spun.
That's on my list.
Okay, it was about crackheads or meth.
She was in a movie called Bong Water.
Nope.
She was in The Devil's Arithmetic with Kirsten Dunst.
Nope.
Girl Interrupted with Winona Ryder and
right.
Angelina
She had a
Jolie.
fucking eating disorder and like hid food and shit. That's right.
Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Yes, that was a funny movie that had what was Charlie Sheen's ex-wife,
Denise Richards.
Yes, they were that. It was like a Miss USA pageant kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Cherry Falls.
No.
Don't Say a Word.
No.
Sin City, which I didn't know she was in. I love that movie.
I did not realize she was in that. That's all like black and white that had
and like comic booky. Yeah.
Okay.
Little Black Book.
Nope.
And then The Ramen Girl, which Alex made me watch, and it was actually very funny.
you know what? I have not seen that, but I've seen the image of her sitting in the fucking. Okay.
So so I love her from Uptown Girls, which is with her and a very young Dakota Fanning, and Clueless. Those are my 2 favorite with her. So on top of acting, Brittany had dreams of becoming a singer. She dabbled in music and was in a band called Blessed Souls with fellow actor Eric Balfour. And I know him from 6 Feet Under. He's Claire's boyfriend. He was also in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He was in Buffy.
You didn't even let me get there. I was going to say, and what did you know him from?
He was in like the first season of Buffy. Oh my God.
So his name was Jesse McNally. He was in the first 2 seasons, and he was one of the show's first victims.
He's really tall and kind of lanky and had like a pointy nose.
Gawky. Yeah, looking. Yeah.
Oh my God.
They were in a band together.
Oh my God. I had no idea. Okay.
I feel like we're getting really up.
That's okay. You know what? I feel like the energy over the last couple of episodes hasn't been what it should be. So we're just making up for lost time here.
There we go.
It's because of alcohol. That's what it is.
That you are more fun when you drink. Brittany also sang some songs on the album for the movie Happy Feet. She did like some cover songs on there.
What movie?
Yeah, I love that movie. Brittany ended up dating a couple high-profile men, such as Ashton Kutcher, Eminem, and then Simon Monjack, who was a British screenwriter who she ended up marrying.
Okay, yeah.
Apparently, her relationship with Simon was a bit toxic. Many people have described him as a liar, manipulator, cheater, thief, and a con artist.
Mm-hmm.
And many friends and family members accuse Simon of kind of taking Brittany away, isolating her from everyone that she loves, and just kind of making her mental health kind of deteriorate a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I remember of the time.
The 2 got married in a private Jewish ceremony in May of 2007, and then they lived together along with Brittany's mom.
Oh, okay.
So now we're going to talk about her body. In the early 2000s, people started noticing that Brittany was losing a shit ton of weight and she was becoming very, very skinny.
Yes.
It was rumored that she had a cocaine addiction and that she had some sort of eating disorder. She constantly denied both of the allegations, saying she's never seen cocaine. She's never had anything to do with that. She does not have an eating disorder. And she was kind of getting really annoyed.
I feel like that's a lie, but
Possibly. She was very, very thin.
it was scary thin. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I just watched the movie To the Bone on Netflix yesterday.
What's her face with the eyebrows?
Yes, the most prominent eyebrows.
Phil Collins' daughter, by the way.
First of all, I know who Phil Collins is. Second of all, she's like 20 something. He's like 900.
That's his daughter. He was like fucking 50 when he had her. I don't know how old he is now, but yes, it's about eating disorders and shit. Right?
Yeah. I was watching that while I was doing laundry yesterday. It's a good movie.
It is. It's upsetting, especially if you have been plagued with one.
I know they have a trigger warning in the beginning saying this movie was consulted with many professionals and people with eating disorders to put it in the right taste, but it could be triggering. You might not want to watch it.
Strive to be happy and healthy in your body, she tells herself.
Yeah. Brittany was also a smoker, though she kept denying it, often while holding a lit cigarette. And I guess at some point she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which is juvenile diabetes.
Oh, shit, that sucks.
Insulin dependent. So now we're going to talk about her death.
Oh.
On December 20th, 2009, at about 7:30 in the morning, Brittany told her mom, Sharon, that she didn't feel well and that she was going to go to her bathroom. After about 30 minutes had passed, Sharon wanted to go check on her. So when she went to the bathroom, she found her daughter was unresponsive on the bathroom floor. Sharon screamed naturally, which caused Simon, the husband, to come run up to see what was happening. He saw her on the floor, and then Sharon called 911. I listened to the 911 call or parts of it. In the call, the operator is telling Sharon that she needs to start doing CPR, and he wants her to count along with him to make sure she's getting the correct compressions per minute. And in the audio, you can hear Simon in the background, and he's the one counting. So it's presumed that he's the one doing CPR. And it does sound like he is doing it. I can tell by his breath.
He's exerting himself.
Yeah, exactly. LA Fire Department responded to Brittany's home at approximately 8:08 a.m. and decided to basically load and go, which you can either stay and play or load and go. It just means, do you have time to stay there? Do you think there's a possibility that they're not going to survive? Or you load and go if you're like, I need to get this person away right now because the chances of them living are pretty high. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's what they did.
Okay.
But unfortunately, at 10:04 a.m., Brittany was pronounced dead after going into cardiac arrest, and she was only 32 years old. An autopsy was performed, and the coroner ruled her death as an accidental death and stated that the cause was pneumonia with secondary factors of severe iron deficiency anemia and multiple drug intoxication.
Interesting.
The coroner explained that they had found high levels of over-the-counter and prescription medications such as Tylenol, hydrocodone, and chlorpeneram, which is an antihistamine.
Oh.
So they say drugs, but it's just if you weren't feeling well, you know how you take.
That's like a standard cocktail of.
It's like a sick person cocktail. That's a good way to view it.
Okay.
The coroner stated that he believed Brittany had taken all of these drugs in order to fight off a cold or some sort of respiratory infection. And the report stated, quote, the possible adverse psychological effects of elevated levels of these medications cannot be discounted, especially in her weakened state, end quote. So it's not like she overdosed on real drugs. She just had a lot of drugs in her system. And due to the fact that she was already sick, she was so thin and she had pneumonia, which is what ultimately caused her death, according to this coroner. He's like, it was a contributing factor. It probably made her loopy. Something happened. That's probably why she passed out. It was kind of a combination of all the things. It wasn't just one factor.
Okay.
But apparently Brittany had been sick a couple weeks leading up to her death, but she never went to a doctor or got it checked out. And it was kind of recorded that she was like a homebody. She didn't like to leave. Some people thought she was getting a little hoardy and a little reclusive, but she just enjoyed staying home unless she had to go to work.
I get it.
So Brittany's husband, Simon, and her mother both made statements saying that Brittany did not use drugs or alcohol because that report makes it sound like she had overdosed on hard drugs, and therefore drugs did not cause or contribute to her death. And they blamed her death on a heart condition, specifically a mitral valve prolapse. And a quick little science lesson. The mitral valve controls the flow of blood from the heart's left atrium to the right ventricle. So the atrium is above the ventricle. And a prolapsed mitral valve means that the valve's flaps don't open all the way or they don't close properly. So every time the heart beats, it opens and it's supposed to close, but it doesn't. So it can cause the valve to leak blood backwards up into the atrium and cause issues. So that's apparently what she had. I couldn't really find any medical evidence that she had this, but they stated she did, and that's what they wanted to blame her death on. 5 months after Brittany's death, on May 23rd, 2010, her husband Simon was also found dead in their home.
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Brittany's mom, Sharon, again had to call 911, but this time for her son-in-law, and Simon was ultimately pronounced dead at the scene, and he was only 40 years old.
Interesting.
And that is where the conspiracy was born.
Yeah, I'm like, the mom is present for the death of all of these people.
No, you jumped to the mom. Okay.
I mean, that's just the common thread right now. She's the one who's made both of those calls. So
Mm-hmm. There you go. Autopsy was also done for Simon. And again, the coroner ruled his death was accidental and attributed his death to acute pneumonia and severe anemia, which is exactly what he said for Brittany, minus the medications.
Now, from what I recall, his physical shape was not the same as hers.
No, he was a little bit on the heavier side.
That's what I thought. He was a little thicker, more.
Yeah, he wasn't like obese or anything, but he was a little bit of a bigger boy.
Meanwhile, she looked like she's
like maybe 90 pounds. She was tiny.
Yeah, like soaking wet, maybe 80 pounds. Okay, so interesting. Continue.
So many people, like yourself, found it difficult to believe that both Brittany and Simon had died naturally of the exact same things only within 5 months of one another.
Was the mother a named beneficiary of anything?
Oh, I don't know.
Because that's the thread.
That isn't even a conspiracy theory. I did think about it for a second, but maybe you've just created your own.
Maybe. I don't know.
Now we're going to talk about the mold.
Mold?
Mold.
Like
M-O-L-D.
Like from a wet environment? I'm thinking like black mold. I don't have any mold in my house.
Yes, a mold. M-O-L-D.
Okay.
So a report had been leaked that the LA County Department of Health had considered toxic mold in their house as a possible cause of death for both Brittany and Simon. But the claim was dismissed by the LA Assistant Chief Coroner, Ed Winter, who stated that there were no indicators that mold was a factor in their death.
Okay.
Sharon heard these rumors and she said that it was, quote, absurd and that mold had nothing to do with Brittany or Simon's death. Then in December of 2011, Sharon changed her stance completely and publicly stated that toxic mold was indeed what killed her daughter and son-in-law, and she filed a lawsuit against the attorneys who represented her in the earlier suit against the builders of the home where they died.
So is mold exposure a cause of anemia?
And it can be.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and you can die from it. It can cause pneumonia. You can definitely die from it through other sicknesses, like black mold specifically. Yeah.
I'm not surprised that with mold, there is some respiratory issue, but anemia is an iron deficiency, isn't it?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I think it's unproven if it specifically causes anemia, but I'm pretty sure it can either mimic symptoms or it does something where it's somewhat connected, but don't quote me on that.
Okay. Interesting.
Sharon further stated that she had, quote, never been personally asked by the coroner or anyone from the Department of Health to come and inspect my home for mold, end quote. The coroner then publicly called Sharon a liar and said that the house had in fact been inspected 2 months before Murphy died and that the report said that it was safe to inhabit. But I don't know why the house would have been checked 2 months prior to her death.
Unless there was a leak or something that...
Unless they had a reason to suspect, but then she lived there, so she would have been aware of that.
Yeah, because you don't just have people come inspect your house for the hell of it. Usually there's some
and it costs money. Yeah.
That's just expensive.
Exactly. And then again, the coroner followed it up by saying he did not think that mold had anything to do with the death of Brittany and or Simon.
All right. Okay.
So after Sharon filed her wrongful death suit with the home builders, an environmental review was done, but those results were not made public. So we don't know what happened, but Sharon did end up dropping her lawsuit in 2013, which leads me to believe
that there was no issue,
that there was no mold found.
It could just be a grieving mother grasping at straws, but
yeah, especially considering how she's already flipped her stance.
Yeah.
So the following month, in January of 2012, Brittany's dad went to the Supreme Court requesting that the LA County Coroner's Office be required to hand over samples of Brittany's hair for independent testing. So mom originally said, no, it's not mold, you're crazy. Then a little while later, she said it's 100% mold and you guys are trying to cover it up. Dad's like, I think something fishy's happening, but I don't think it's mold. He, for whatever reason, believed that Brittany had been murdered and that she had been poisoned specifically with arsenic. Because he said signs and symptoms of an arsenic poisoning can mimic anemia, I guess.
Interesting.
So he wanted her hair, basically, so he could run tests in an independent lab to test for arsenic or any other sorts of poisoning.
Did he request the same thing for her husband too, or just her?
No, he doesn't give a shit about the husband. Okay. No one does. This is all about Brittany now.
All right, that says a lot.
So almost 2 years later, after his request with the Supreme Court in November of 2013, Angelo, that's his name, claimed that a toxicology report showed that deliberate poisoning by heavy metals, including antimony and barium, which are found in rat poison, were present and possible contributing factors to Brittany's death.
Oh.
Sharon heard this, the mom, and she described the claim as an attempt to smear Brittany's name and hated that he just wouldn't shut up, basically. So these parents don't get along. They're both grieving parents trying to find an answer to basically an unsolvable question about how and why their poor daughter died. So they're going about it their old ways, but because they hate each other, it's also coming out as super antagonistic.
Got it.
This dude named Dr. Bruce Goldberger, who was the director of forensic medicine at the University of Florida and a president of the American Board of Forensic Toxicology, called the report's conclusion ridiculous. The report I'm referring to is the report that the dad had done about her hair samples, because he was somehow able to get her hair. And he send it in for independent testing. And they're like, yes, it has high metals, which are indicative of rat poison. So this doctor...
What? Sorry. Evan just texted me. Breaking news. Machine Gun Kelly just released a country song.
Oh, that's interesting.
I love his genre bending.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
I was saying. Okay, so the dad made these.
He's calling bullshit on, or
someone. The doctor is.
The doctor is. Okay.
This random doctor took it upon himself to go in an interview or whatever and say that the reports were ridiculous and that the criminal intent accusation was, quote, a baseless allegation, outrageous statement to make based on a single hair test, end quote.
Okay.
So basically he's like, Dad, you're kind of losing your marbles. This isn't scientifically adding up. And I think you should like sit down and stop publicly saying these things.
Sure. Yeah.
In 2016, forensic pathologist Dr. Cyril Wett, who co-wrote a book about John Benet Ramsey and performed a second autopsy on Anna Nicole Smith.
Oh, God, Anna Nicole.
He told E! News, because that's where I got this information, that based on what the hair test uncovered in 2013, the one that the dad had tested, he would have reopened Murphy's case, even though I'm not sure who asked him. But he had a very strong opinion that relatively young couple dying within 5 months of each other due to the same suspicious reasons would have definitely garnered a second look. And he was kind of shit talking the medical examiner and coroner for not reopening the case.
I mean, it is a little suspicious when you kind of lay it out that way. Like, why would these two people, there was an age gap between them. Why would they both essentially pass from this same
pneumonia and anemia
thing, but with the same presenting symptoms? Like, what's the link there? Like, there's something going on.
Well, the coroner responded to this accusation.
Okay.
And he said, quote, the only thing they found was heavy metals present, but I guess either our folks or doctors explained it to them that it was due to Brittany's coloring her hair. It was determined that it was from hair color, the heavy metals that was found. She wasn't poisoned, and we stand by the cause of death. She died from over-the-counter medicines, pneumonia, and anemia, end quote.
Was she dyeing her husband's hair too? Like the same?
Again, no one cares about him. No one tested his hair.
I feel like they should. There are too many coincidences.
Said who he was and that he died. He is no longer in the story.
God damn it.
He didn't have anyone that loved him enough to do this.
Apparently.
The coroner further went on to explain that even if he wanted to, he couldn't just reopen a case and exhume her fucking body and start doing more testing because the police needed evidence to justify reopening the case. And barring someone literally outright confessing that they poisoned and or murdered her, they weren't getting that evidence. So it wasn't a possibility. So he's kind of standing his ground. I know all of you think I didn't do my job, but I did. So fuck off.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. Do you live in the Bay Area? Are you in need of a CPR class for work or just to gain knowledge? Well, look no further because CPR Education has you covered. They host public classes every Saturday in Pleasant Hill, ranging from CPR and first aid, BLS for healthcare providers, infant essentials for new and expecting parents, and EMSA-approved courses for licensed childcare providers. Whatever need you have, CPR Education has a solution. Go to cpredu.com and use code CRACKED for 20% off any public class. That's CRACKED, and you'll get 20% off any class of your choosing. CPR Education, keeping people together.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you're the right person to answer this, but my wishes when I leave this world, I want to be fucking burned at the stake like a witch. Just make me into a pile of ashes. In the event that I die under suspicious circumstances, but I still want to just be burned to a crisp, do you guys push off fulfilling my end of life wishes to do an autopsy and shit? Or how does that work?
You can still ultimately be cremated, but an autopsy will go first if it's a criminal investigation.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Are you able to say, regardless of what happens to me, I don't care, like just light me up? Or I don't know. Just
What do you mean, regardless of what happens to me?
like if I died under suspicious circumstances, am I able to say, I don't care what happened, just burn me?
Oh, like I don't care that I was potentially murdered.
Yeah,
No.
like you don't
Like,
need.
are you saying you don't consent to an autopsy? Is that ultimately what you're
Is that
saying?
something that you could
No.
do?
No, because it's not up to you, nor is it up to your family or Evan or
Oh, okay.
anyone. It's up to the law enforcement. If they have reason to believe that
I
it's
wasn't
criminal
sure.
circumstances.
So
Yeah,
that's not something you consent to. Like that is something else completely.
correct. So like some people have religious affiliations with death. So I think it's, oh gosh, don't quote me on this. I think it's Jewish people. You have to be buried within 3 to 5 days.
I know
Like,
there.
the time that you were pronounced dead. Like it has to move very quickly, and there's a certain amount of steps that they have to follow. But if it's suspicious, the coroner will take that. I had that happen once where I was on a death investigation and they were, I think, Jewish, I think is what it is. And they were very concerned because they're like, well, technically we have to do all these steps and we're on a timeline. And they go, I will explain that to the coroner. And they are sensitive about, cultural beliefs and all that stuff. But unfortunately, they also have a job to do. But the coroner's like, I basically what I try to do is put them to the top of the pile or the top of the list, get them done first so that way they can still follow the religious beliefs, but it's something that has to be done.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You're welcome. So now we're going to talk about her house, her and Simon's house, even though Simon doesn't count anymore.
Apparently.
So fun fact, Brittany and Simon purchased their fully furnished home in West Hollywood from Britney Spears for $3.5 million in 2003.
My bestie.
Your
Oh.
bestie. So Britney Spears' makeup artist apparently mentioned, which I don't believe any part of the rest of what I'm going to say, but apparently she mentioned that Britney Spears hated being in that house because she started seeing spirits and that those spirits wanted to hurt her and they even tried to push her down the stairs.
I mean, considering what
You agree. What year did Britney shave her head?
yeah, I'm like, when did she have her full mental breakdown? Because maybe she did.
That was like 2006, I thought.
You know what? Hold on. 2007.
Oh, I was close. Anyway, as soon as allegedly the spirits tried to push her down the stairs, Brittany noped the fuck out of there and sold the house to Brittany Murphy. And
You know, I can kind of see that. She's
I would do the same thing. if there was a ghost in this house, Alex would be out, and then I would have to sell it real quick to someone.
Do you remember? Quick side quest. When we moved into the Muirfield,
That you told me that a construction worker fell through the ceiling and died
because there was a hole in the floor.
that was not big enough for a human. Yeah, I remember all of that.
But I was
my mom and dad before I moved. And they also remembered my trauma. Thanks.
I was convinced because there was a hole in the floor in the bedroom prior to the home being finished. And I don't know what made me think.
Because you're a dick.
I am. But I was convinced that someone perished building that home.
No,
and
they didn't.
They did not. That I'm
Yes, I was terrified because you told me that. And mom and dad specifically said, grown man cannot fit through it and die. And that you were doing it to fuck with me.
You know what? I was what, 12 maybe when we moved there.
So 2002.
Oh, okay. I was in middle school then. So yeah, it was right before high school. So yeah, I was probably still just really shitty to you then. But I vividly remember being convinced that something awful had happened.
Right. And then in my last house, when I was like going through it with Eric, the owner, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And he goes, cool. By the way, both my parents died in here. Hope that's cool. I'm like,
The house, the see me house that you left. I fully believe that there is a fucking dead body behind one of the walls.
that actually might be a fact.
Because when I was helping you clean to move out, the wall moved. It should not have been. And there was a weird smell, and it smelled like rotting fruit. And I'm like, what is happening? But the house was clean, but the wall was very
terrible. I can tell you, one, dead people do not smell like rotting fruit. And two, nothing in that house. I'm surprised the house didn't blow over when the Santa Ana winds. Literally, the electrical was wrong. None of the light switches worked. That house was just so badly put together. I feel like two random people were like, I can build a house. I'll watch a YouTube video. And that's how the house was built.
We could have done a better job building a house.
We could have.
But it might not be a dead person, but there was something fucking dead behind that wall.
It's probably the other mouse that was running around in the house.
Oh, good times.
Very traumatic house. Okay. So they bought this haunted house from Britney Spears. And I guess Simon had discussed in interviews after Britney's death that Britney hated their home and that she had aspirations to move to the East Coast and start a family. And I guess sometimes if they were driving home, she'd be like, let's not go home. Let's just go stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And he goes, don't be silly. We have a 10,000 square foot home. We're going to go home. So it was never outright said that she was like scared of the home or felt anything. But I think that probably was taken out of context in order to perpetuate that this house is haunted. It's definitely haunted now because there was 2 dead people in it. But before then,
Oh, Jesus.
So that brings us to my final thoughts. People think Britney died from possible mold infestation, poisoning, bad spirits, or from her husband being a dickwad and whittling her down to nothing and compromising her immune system.
Yeah.
I originally liked the mold theory. I think, as you mentioned, it could explain a lot of her symptoms leading up to both of their deaths and the fact that they both died so close and it's suspicious and they lived in the same house for 6 years. If it did have mold, that could explain how they got, the buildup in their system. However, Sharon also lived in that house with them even longer because she remained in it after they died until she sold it. She didn't have any signs and symptoms of mold, and it would have probably affected everyone, I assume. Ultimately, I think if any person who dies unexpectedly at a young age, they automatically start the rumor mill and conspiracy theories because people want there to be a reason. They want something to blame or someone to blame. No one likes young deaths because then it's left unexplained or unknown and they want there to be a bad guy. So I think
because they don't want to think that something's going to happen to them too then.
Exactly. They want it to be a random freak accident where they can blame someone and that person goes to jail or whatever it may be. So I think she was very thin for whether it was pressures in Hollywood, it was her husband. I think it was probably a little bit of both. I think she just got so incredibly thin that it fucking tanked her immune system. I think she got a random common cold. And because she didn't like to leave her house for whatever reason, I think that cold progressed. It turned into pneumonia. And unfortunately, that's what killed her. As far as her husband, I have no answer and I don't care because this is about him.
I have always had this sneaking suspicion that he has had some influence over what happened to her, whether he was controlling her or making her stressed, which resulted in her not eating well or taking care of herself. Because there was an age gap between them, right?
Yes, he was like 8 or 10 years older, I think, than her.
Yeah. And so when you're in your 20s, 30s, that big of an age gap makes a difference. So I think there was pressure outward from the industry for sure. But my suspicion is that there was some other controlling tendencies or stresses. And I feel like he was definitely a contributing factor.
In the same vein, he also died of the same thing.
He did.
So it's not like he killed her, in my opinion. It's not like, yeah, him being a shit husband probably is what contributed to her, I think, getting super thin and her immune system being fucked.
Yeah.
But then how did he die? Who did that to him? No one. He was chubby.
That's true.
Oh,
I know. I did. But again, I think I'm looking for validation that something bad had happened and was the cause, and not just it being something completely natural to explain away. So I'm definitely falling victim to that. But
there still is no answer because I still don't know why he died. So of the same thing and so close. It would make sense that it was mold or something that he could also inherit.
The fact that her mom had no issues living in the same house. It is.
Unless maybe it was on set and only in one room. It's a 10,000 square foot home. I don't know where she lived on the property. Maybe it only affected their immediate living quarters and not hers. I don't know.
Possibly. But yeah, that's one that has always made me kind of profoundly sad thinking
about. It makes me sad too.
Because she was so young. I liked her in so many things. She's
fun.
Like such a gorgeous person inside and out. Have you seen Lily Reinhart?
Team Riverdale?
Yes, she looks so much like Brittany Murphy. So much like her. Have you ever noticed that?
I have not.
Bitch, Google it. Google the side by side.
I am.
There are so many similar features between the two of them.
Oh, okay. I guess there is. They have a very similar mouth.
They do.
And they're blonde.
And similar chin. But it's just, it's kind of uncanny seeing the two of them side by side. That's sad.
Yeah, so that is the story of Brittany Murphy. I'm going to cover next week.
Yeah, so I was scratching my head trying to think of what I wanted to do. And then I had a thought and decided that I wanted to do the Stanford prison experiment.
Ooh, that's fun.
That is fun. I'm like, I want something different. I want something that we haven't covered yet. I didn't want a conspiracy theory. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mystery or spooky shit. That's some fucked up shit is what that is.
It is. I studied it in college.
Yes. So that
I want a major in psychology, as every chick does.
Absolutely. And I've always thought of that in the back of my mind because I believe one of the professors or people that was involved, his name was Phil Zimbardo. And
that sounds about right.
Went to school with a kid named Phil Zimbardo. And then when I learned about it, I'm like, is that you? And he's like, what the fuck? No. I know. I know.
It's a parallel universe or a
correlation. But I've always thought about it. But that's some fucked up shit. So I wanna cover that.
That sounds fun.
That sounds fun. But yeah, so that is my next topic. But clearly I am always looking. It's always me. It's always me who's looking for a new topic. Apparently you don't really help in life. So good for you. You are winning. Yeah.
Actually, my list is getting whittled down. So
thank you. I mean, we've been doing this for almost a year and a half now. So you know, we need some fresh ideas, some fresh inspiration. So we encourage you to reach out to us and provide us with said inspo. You can do so on our Instagram. That's going to be the easiest way to get a hold of us. Otherwise, we have Facebook, we have an X, we have
TikTok.
I have some clips I need to post. But
then we have a Patreon. But they have I think it's new to me at least, where they have an option where you can be a free member.
So you can lurk in the shadows and get
So I've been posting some stuff for everybody, including free members. And then obviously I do have only exclusive stuff for paid members. But if you like us and you want to support us, but maybe you don't want to give us $1, please still just go to Patreon and just become a free member. That way you get to support us. It's fun. You might like it.
I like to think that we are two reasonably attractive young women. So, that should lure you over to our camp. So I am soliciting your viewership, but also more so I'm interested in your ideas. So send us some things that you want to hear about and maybe
I don't like your looks. I just like your personality. Shut up.
whatever. I'm trying to appeal to the people. Okay. Also, completely unrelated, but before we leave, have you been watching the Olympics?
No. I've been wanting to, and I have Peacock, but I don't understand their schedules. So I just want to watch Simone Biles, honestly.
Yes. So if you have Peacock, there are Team USA gymnastics highlights. I highly recommend you check it out. Our fucking team has been killing it, both men and women. Simone. I was in the same room as Simone Biles last year. So
How are you?
I was at a conference for work.
Oh,
She was given a ride speech for women. So
that's nice.
But anywho, check us out on our socials, give us inspiration and all the things. But with that, I'm going to say, stay cracked, y'all.
And have a great day.